noise, to say the least, giving Team Envious the 3-0, but Team Envious not looking like themselves at all.
Yeah, it's obviously kind of unfortunate to see the boys in blue not really performing up to what kind of be standards in some cases. There have, of course, been some roster rumors kind of coming into this event, but unfortunately for them, they have just really not been on par, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely. I think John's a big part of that, too. But anyway, we're not jumping in towards this. We're focusing on this one. Luminosity, another team who finds themselves second in this pool so far, right behind Epsilon. So this is a big game for them to win. I'm not sure how it works out if they win this game, if they end up taking first over Epsilon, or if the whole map count ordeal comes into play as well.
I believe they're currently sitting in third right now, as far as, because they haven't played as many maps as both LG and Epsilon. But if they beat LG in this particular situation, that's going to leave, I believe, Luminosity then at 2-2, and then Rogue at 2-1. If they advance and beat Red Reserve, then they could potentially be in a second spot.
So this is a very big game for Rogue, like we said, especially being an open bracket team coming in. You want to make some noise. It's basically just been them, and Bittersweet has been, well, Bittersweet's been in it already, but I mean, they're not a team that came through the open bracket. A lot of open bracket teams have been struggling. I think Arrow's been one of the ones that has probably the second to them. But here's going to be your guys' maps for this series in this best of 5. Keep in mind, we still are in pool play as well. So right now, these guys are just fighting to see where they're going to be placed in these brackets. First map is going to be Throwback Hardpoint, then moving on to Breakout, Search and Destroy. Then third is going to be Precinct, Uplink, and if we need to go the distance for map 4 and 5, it's going to be Breakout, Hardpoint, and Retaliation S&D.
Indeed it will. For those who don't know many about the Rogue players, kind of a recent addition of some players going back and forth. Johnny, Nelson, previous teammates on some rosters known as 100 Thieves back in Black Ops 3 during some of the seasons we had back during those days. Of course, Godorex joining this lineup, coming from a number of different rosters. And, of course, Pander, kind of an up-and-comer. And, of course, you've seen Pander and LG in the discussion before. Why? Because he actually played and filled in for Saints at ESWC, where they had a pretty decent run at that tournament as well. So if there's one player who's going to be pretty familiar with this Luminosity lineup, it would be Pander, and I'm probably going to be getting some of that information over to his teammates right now, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and this is going to be a true test for Rogue to see how well they really do suit up in this pool. Like we said, face the weaker Envy team, but beat them 3-0-2, which that's always impressive when you're going up against a team like Team Envious. So now they have the true test in the Juggernauts in Luminosity Gaming here. We're on board with Saints right now. Initial control of this one going to back and forth between these two teams, but Rogue is going to take that control, and they're already getting those early rotations moving over towards Barn as well. But you're going to start to see the 3 hit here coming from the players from Luminosity Gaming. It's going to be Saints and Classic working together.
Yeah, this is a big route that both Saints and Slacked are working on at the moment, because they can actually get this one through. That would be big, but unfortunately for them, they end up dropping Johnny, Pander, Nelson, combining for a few. Classic, the last one alive over here for the side of LG, and the reason why I bring up why it's such an important push that they were making was that's Barn. Barn is a massive hill when it comes down to this map, kind of in some cases the money hill when it comes down to throwbacks. So the fact that Rogue was able to shut down that push from LG early is obviously granting them some early seconds at the moment.
Yeah, most certainly is. You see the push coming in from the Luminosity players. One goes in through front Barn, and then 2 hit the backside. They're on board with Godorex. He's going to be able to find himself 2 kills before he does finally drop. But now Johnny is going to find himself with that MV4 outside of the barn, but 3 Luminosity players hitting that wall run to try to distract the players from Rogue, and now the break is coming in. Godorex is the last player standing for Rogue, and Classic gets the nice break in there. He's starting to heat up here on a 3-kill spree.
And Classic is one of those guys who actually was casting over whenever they ended up playing against Epsilon. I think it was one of the first matches that we ended up having on Bravo for yesterday during day 1. And this is a guy who kind of goes unnoticed quite a bit as Classic. I mean, he's going to be getting in the objective quite a bit. He's obviously a guy who can do quite a bit when it comes down to the streaks. Currently on a 4 spree, sitting at 7-5, most kills in his entire team. Actually, as Arcade just goes in and joins alongside him. But he's a guy that isn't going to go quite noticed in the scoreboard a lot. He's going to be helping out in the objective, but doing a lot of stuff that doesn't really show up in his stats.
Definitely does the dirty work, especially in a game like Uplink, where he's going to be that nuisance inside of the base. But now he finds himself with the MV4 in the power position. He gets a Trinity Rocket. He gets the bombardment there, gets a nice snap going on towards Nelson. Now he is going to be fully streaked out, so that's something to keep in mind as this entire game does progress. Saints is going to be inside of the hill. He has Octane watching from this power position, and this is so scary when you get your MV4 player up here. It is the best spot to be in for this hill, and just in general when it comes down to holding this side of the map. You're going to see Octane, he spots one player, that's going to be Johnny, and he gets a nice shots there, but now the quick trade is going to come in, and Nelson is going to take him out.
And Nelson, a very fast, aggressive player, normally going to have that SMG, ERAD, or K-bar as well. Entries coming in. Saints is able to win that prior gun engagement. Looks like the last few seconds, a bike path going to go in Luminosity's way. But of course, the rotation getting ready to come back over toward that back baseball field, aka statue, where Nelson is going to be ready and waiting here for that hill to spawn up. Rogue, yet again, have rotated early, and we'll see if they can lock down some early time in baseball field to bring this one back to a level heading.
They're going to go ahead and utilize the Trinity Rocket here. This is coming from Classic. He's going to be able to find one, gets into one of the players' arm, picks up two, so that's 3 dead. Nelson is going to be left alive here for Rogue. He should be taken out quickly, and just like that, Luminosity gets the clean break, and they should get some decent time off of this one. Classic is going to be the lone player inside the hill, but it looks like 3 players from Rogue are going to be pushing towards that blue side, and there's one coming from Bowling, and it looks like the pinch is going to be imminent.
It is. Johnny's trying to make some way happen with that MV4, but Saints just absolutely turns on him. Pander trying to make some type of impact, but he's quickly dropped. And Elgato Rex trying to make some sort of initial input as well, but it seems a lot of the Rogue players are kind of hitting this one by one. They need to get a team push going. That's exactly what they're trying to do right now. 3 get met in the kill feed. Saints does as well, so the hill gets re-broken back this time by Rogue, but not a whole lot of time to be fighting for as Classic finds 2, so he'll be granted the last 3 or 4 seconds. So these teams playing very, very aggressive, wanting to get every single second possible. So after our first shot of rotation, it's going to be Luminosity with about a 40-point advantage.
And this is what you love when you see Classic going off for the side of Luminosity. I mean, you see Octane dropping those big numbers, but Classic is one of those players behind him who's capable of dropping these huge numbers. You saw him get close to streaks once more. Still has that bombardment, and he's getting very close to that active camo as well. Initial hill time now still going up in the air. Contested players just waiting to get these final kills. Now it's going to be Pander placed up in top green, and he will finally be taken out. Octane has that FTL jump ready to go, but he is going to be taken out from the hill, and it's going to be Johnny picking up a nice 2-piece here. Let's see if he's going to get things rolling now, more than halfway towards that active camo as well, but Luminosity just keeps firing back and taking control.
Yeah, Pander does a nice job of getting involved in the kill feed there in the end. And when we talk about this Rogue lineup, I mean, this is not a team to be sleeping on by any means. Of course, coming from the open bracket, you do in some cases, if you are a professional team, you kind of look at them, you kind of count them out in some cases, but these guys have been in the Call of Duty World League seasons before. Like we said, we already talked about Johnny and Nelson already being involved in that. Elgato Rex, a very, very big up-and-coming player over the last few years, even heading into Advanced Warfare days back with Vanquish. And you also have a guy like Pander, kind of a new guy throughout Infinite Warfare as well as through Black Ops 3. I've heard a lot of pros and even quite a few people talk in the green room about him so far this event with some of the commentators. They say he's a very good search and destroy player, but for Rogue, he's actually been doing quite a bit in the kill feed as Saints actually starts to light up a few. But going back to the Rogue players, Pander, this is a guy to be watching out for and could definitely be someone that we kind of see ourselves talking about at future tournaments.
The former substitute for Luminosity Gaming at ESWC knows how these guys are, knows the potential that they do have, and Luminosity showing it here on Barn. They're finally able to get the break in thanks to Elgato Rex and Nelson making that double push, but now they need to try to fight for the spawns. That is one of the biggest things Rogue has failed to do, is get those spawns and hold them. Now Johnny's going to be left inside the hill, has Classic one shot, but not enough bullets in the chamber to finish that one off. Now the scrap time is going to be going to Rogue, and the rotations are going to be coming in for Bike Path, and Luminosity looks to be set up great to try to pin this one in, but it's all going to come down to how Slate's going to be able to slay out these players pushing Lemon.
That was a big kill that Elgato Rex actually got over toward that field side, because had he not, that would have been in some cases a potential pinch that LG could have delayed for quite a few seconds, but either way, the slang will come in regardless, and Octane continuing with that MV4, kind of holding all the angles that he needs to. It's scary to have an MV4 in a power position like that. When you have a guy like Octane, I mean, it demands MV4, rarely moves, and if it does move, it's usually going on to multiple enemies. So with that, Rogue is going to have to be aware of such as the streaks start to come down yet again. It's definitely been a major problem for them so far throughout the match. You've got Saints doing it, you've got Classic doing it as well. And this game starting to go in LG's way. We'll see what Rogue can potentially try and do to bring this one back. They need to get some remaining time at Bike Path, and also need to make sure that the rotation over toward Baseball Field is one that they can do quick.
Yeah, definitely, and Saints is starting to heat up here once more. 5 kill streak for him, so when you have Saints and Classic going off, it's very scary for the opposing team. They both have bombardments in their back pocket ready to go as well. Things are looking good for Luminosity to try to get close to closing this one out come time the baseball field does rotate over. Johnny is going to be positioned in ticket. He's going to be able to find a kill, but now he's on the hunt for other Luminosity players. He gets up, gets aggressive. He's going to be able to take out Classic, but that's going to be traded out. But now you see the bombardment come into play, but nothing happens with it. Elgato Rex, though, will be taken out at blue, so it was enough to get that call out, and Octane is going to be the first player inside of the hill for the side of Luminosity. Burns that FTL jump as well, just kind of jumping back and forth, but Classic is there for the support.
And Rogue really isn't playing anything wrong at this point. It's just the richer getting richer in some cases for the side of LG. They obviously have a fantastic start. I know we talked about countless times how Classic's been doing well, actually on a 5 spree, just as we start to bring up his name as he just ends up dropping Saints as well. But it's not that Rogue has been rotating incorrectly or doing anything wrong. It's just the streaks are coming in and just absolutely disrupting any setup that Rogue tries to make. It happened toward Bike Path. It also just happened here instead of Baseball Field. So while Rogue is getting some time here and there, and while it's been spotty, they haven't really been doing anything wrong. It's just LG using those streaks very effectively.
Yeah, it definitely is, and a player that we have to highlight as well. He stays quiet. His name's not brought up very much. It's going to be Slacked. He does a lot of the dirty work outside of the hills when it comes to slaying, as well as getting those important rotational kills, and that's exactly what he's been doing, and that's why Luminosity has so much success as well. But you also have to give credit to Classic and Saints. When they're both clicking, Luminosity is getting the win no matter what. 29 kills for Saints, 28 for Classic. They both have their payloads ready to go as well, and Saints is working his way up towards that Trinity Rocket once more. He has that ready to go. I don't believe he has the bombardment, so that was used, and I don't know if Classic has his. He still might. Classic still does have that bombardment ready to go as well.
This is not looking good if you're a Rogue fan, but crazier things have happened in the past. 212 to 124, 25 seconds remaining on that train platform before the rotation comes over into Barn. Rogue currently with the preferred spawns. When it comes, Luminosity currently in possession of those spawns. Rogue trying to force the issue and try to get those away from the side of LG. Kills being traded, but no player of Rogue is actually going to be in a position to try and grab those. So with that, this is not looking good if you're a Rogue fan. They need to try and get some pushes to happen soon. And it looks like Johnny and GodRx both with their payloads. Nelson as well. So if they can maybe establish some control, Nelson can put that Centurion down. Maybe they use an active camo or such to try and break the hill. We could potentially see them get some time here, but it's not going to be easy. Nelson forces the issue in. Classic immediately is going to be there with the fist to the face, and now Johnny's left all by himself in the back. The active camo gets rocked, but nothing comes of it. And now only about 30 seconds remaining for Luminosity to close out this map number 1.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that's been kind of a story for Rogue throughout the entirety of this game, they're not pushing anything as a team. You saw Nelson just sort of run in there with his pants down, just completely running forward, and then he ends up getting taken out. He had teammates in there for support. Wait for your teammates and then try to hit that back behind, get the spawns first, and then push inside of the hill. That's been one of the biggest takeaways as to why Rogue is failing in this match, but it also helps that you're completely outslaying the enemy team by so much. Panda is going to jump inside the hill, but Slack is going to take him out. It's going to be 250 to 129 in favor of Luminosity.
Can we pull up the scorecard really quick? I want to see how many kills Saints had at the end of that game. I mean, he absolutely went off this match. I'm just curious to see. He ended up having, I believe, 34 and 20. So massive plays are coming in from Saints. He, at times, especially as of recently, people have kind of questioned his overall slaying ability. But in this match, he's ready, man. He's lighting it up early on.
Like we said, it's when you get great games coming from Saints and you get the great games coming from Classic too. This is where this team looks good. Most of the time you see Octane with the MV4 dropping that huge KD, dropping those big numbers there. Unorthodox game from him. I mean, he didn't do bad by any means, but from the standards...
It is kind of hard to get kills, though, when you got Saints. I mean, just absolutely destroying everything.
The standard that Octane has set for himself, but then when you have the teammates slaying out like that, you're not going to get as many kills. Same thing with Slack, but they still were all doing their roles, and they played it perfectly as well. So on the side of Rogue, you look at them, one of the biggest things, they just struggled taking the setups away from Luminosity. That was one of the biggest things, just constantly single pushing things. But then again, it came down to where they were team hitting stuff, but it was just Luminosity coming out in the one-on-one gunfights as well. Anytime they had control of the hill, Luminosity was able to get a quick break in too. So it's just a very rough game all around for Rogue.
And I'm also curious to see what the box score looks after that match, just because of a number of different plays that we end up seeing throughout the entire match. You see on Train, though, at least for the first hard point, Rogue ended up reigning true, but I see a few hills that are kind of outliers. Bike paths just to be won, 86 seconds to Rogues' 3. Definitely not something that they like to replicate anytime soon, as well as baseball field. That can also kind of act as a money hill in some instances. 54 to 27, and also we talk about Barn as well, 86 to 45. So only major hill where we saw Rogue get quite a few times was on that middle hill, but nothing really came of it too much. Of course, we look at the top players from this match. We see Saints 1.70 KD, 34 kills overall, along with quite a few seconds inside of the hill, 128 to be exact. And GodRx did as much as he could, 23 kills for the man, 56 seconds inside of the hill, most time for the Rogue squad. And also, I believe it's GodRx's birthday, so massive shout out to GodRx. Hope he's having a good birthday. He's beat some pretty talented teams today, and he's also a very talented player at that. So massive shout out to GodRx. Make sure to wish him happy birthday on Twitter if you'd like. He's a good guy, good dude, but his team's kind of in a little bit of a pinch right now. We'll see what they can try to produce, Dirk.
Yeah, I mean, that bike path was not good for Rogue by any means.
When you only get 3 seconds on the hill, it's like,
yeah, that's one of the biggest things that when that comes up, it's so hard to, especially when the streaks, I think that played a big part in it too as well. So you definitely want to see them try to step it up on there, but we're not going to be seeing throwback. We're going to be seeing breakout, search, and destroy next.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to talk about really quick before we head into this next breakout search and destroy is that what I've been seeing for some really talented respawn teams like E United, teams like FaZe, and even teams like Luminosity Gaming as well, is that I've seen them do really well on everything but money hills, which just goes to show the level of kind of complication that comes with their overall gameplay, is that they can win on just about any hill in the game. It doesn't have to be on money hills. It can be on any hill in the game. And that just goes to show in that bike path field, for example, that Luminosity can win when it doesn't come to barn. They can win when it comes into different things. And it just goes to show how complex some of these rosters are and how deep a lot of their gameplay goes, is that they can beat you at just any moment in the game.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to find success on that one so many times, too, when you have Octane with the MV4 watching over you. The amount of times you saw him get into that position on, like, the bridge area. And then, like we said, when you have Saints, the player soaking up inside of the hill and going on 5 kill streaks in Classic, going on Slack, doing his part, too. Getting those streaks is so valuable, especially on a map like Throwback, where I think, 3 of the hills out of the 4 that are on there are going to be outside. I think the only one that isn't is Barn, so they're going to benefit you greatly, even if it's just hovering a Trinity Rocket down. It's going to buy you enough time to try to get a clean break in there. So they completely dominated that one. And this is one of our biggest key matchups coming into this. How are the players from Rogue going to match up with Octane? That's one of the biggest things. It's a tall task. You're going up against one of the top ARs in the game. I would say top 2 in the game with Octane.
It's fair to say,
And you have to try to win that matchup with the MV4. It's just, we saw the shots that Johnny was trying to put into him when he had a nice positioning in bowling, and Octane had none of it. He was able to take him out within, 3 seconds.
Yeah, the ARs for the side of Rogue are definitely going to be Johnny and alongside God Rex. I mean, they're very talented ARs in their own regard, but when it comes down to a freakish man like Samuel, a.k.a. Octane, it's never going to be an easy task. I mean, the man has definitely lit things up, and I believe when it came down to playoffs, he had a 1.20 KD, leading his team to being runners-up at playoffs for Stage 1 as well. So, I mean, this guy's gone off in the past, and I think that his run of being one of the top ARs in the game is not going to end anytime soon.
Yep, next is going to be Search and Destroy, though. This is where we've seen Luminosity in the past. They've looked atrocious. Let's just throw it out there. They've looked bad. But now, over the past couple events, they've started to really, really improve. I think at playoffs, we saw a very big improvement from them as well. Off the top of my head, I'm just spitballing here. I'm pretty sure we did. I know at Dallas we did for sure. That was one of the ones that we sat there and we were like, wow, they have this win percentage in Search and Destroy. Is this the right Luminosity? But, I mean, they've taken the time to go back and look at everything that's been done. But this is going to be breakout Search and Destroy. We keep on bringing it up every time it's brought up into the map series. Hasn't been played very much by many people. It's going to be played more by Luminosity than it is Rogue, though.
Yeah, most likely that's for sure. So, of course, for those who don't know, one of the newer maps added to the CWL rotation when it comes down to Search and Destroy maps. Definitely plays pretty interesting. Of course, you have Site A located over toward that wall run side, and of course, the other bomb site located near that front cave, aka side 2 medbay. So of course, as we load in here toward round number 1, Luminosity hot off a game number 1 victory. Can they make it 2-0? Or will Rogue respond when it comes down to the Search and Destroy? As Luminosity definitely have improved when it comes into the Search and Destroy gameplay as of recent, just like Dirk mentioned. And we'll see if they can stick together as a team, which is apparently the strategies that they have been putting into play.
Yeah, and something big to mention too, Classic is actually giving up the camo here in Search and Destroy, and it's going over towards Octane. Now that could be for a sense that you don't get when you get the bomb down, when you get the plants now, this is going to be harder for him to get it. I mean, it's not going to give you any points towards it at all. We know Octane is more capable in Search and Destroy of putting up those big numbers as well. So maybe that's the reason they decide to go over to camo towards Octane. But kills have been going down while we've been talking, and just like that, Slack is going to be left alive. He takes out Johnny, but the trade is immediately going to be there, and it's going to be Rogue taking round 1.
It was a good decision there from Rogue to kind of just play things pretty statically. I think they ended up getting a spot on one player who ended up going through the skies thanks to the sniper rifle that God Rex had out. So with that, they were able to choose the bomb pretty effectively, kind of made their way back, and no need for a retake because they ended up killing the LG players before the bomb could go down. So overall, a good defensive play there out of the side from Rogue in round number 1.
Round number 1 going in favor of Rogue. Godorex puts the sniper rifle away. He's going to have the MV4 in hand as well. It's going to be led by Nelson, has that RPR in hand. It's going to be pushing over towards his wall run side. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. He is going to be met by Saints, but Saints is going to be playing his corner. Nelson is clear to get the bomb down, and it'd be perfect timing if Saints were to run out and try to get the check, but he's going to spot one player. He's going to be able to take out that. Classic is going to be able to take him out, but Octane is immediately going to get the trade. He takes out GodRx as well. One more player around the corner. Is Octane going to be able to get it? No, Johnny comes out on top of that one with the K-bar in hand, but now a 2 versus 2 situation.
Yeah, Johnny winning the AR battle in that particular exchange. Well, Johnny, it's not going to be easy, my friend. You got 2 more players. You got Slack and Saints in your way. Well, you just picked off one of them. One more just to his left. Can he clutch this one as well? What a beautiful play there coming in from Johnny as he'll pick up at least 3 toward the end of that round. A 1 versus 2. Clutch finds one, immediately knows the call out for the second. No shots missing. Everything on target. And the nice salute to say so long to round number 2 as Rogue now going to be up with LG no longer having any response.
That was great awareness there by Johnny, kind of realizing, okay, after I just killed Saints, nobody came to contest me real quick. Let's go check the middle of the map, and he did exactly that. Got the perfect read on them. Off to a hot start is Johnny, sitting at 5-1, and they have a 2-round lead. So now you see 2 players hitting the wall run. There's going to be 2 players from Luminosity doing the exact same. Classic is going to slide in. He's going to be able to find one. Immediately traded out by Nelson. Now Nelson is being chased, and Saints takes him out as well. So now 1 player going to be left last alive. That is going to be Godorex of Rogue.
Before that, we can't even say much after, but Panda, you really cannot lose a gunfight when you have the head glitch on the bomb like that. Kind of unfortunate misfights going down, but of course you see Slack being pretty active. All the LG players just completely rushing upon the final player, which is GodRx. And one thing that I want to point out that I ended up seeing in that matchup that Rogue ended up playing versus Epsilon is that they actually went up 3-0. Of course, a little bit of a different story in this one, 2-1 for Rogue. But they started to get a little bit lackadaisical in some cases. They started to feel a little bit confident. I ended up seeing them rush things that they really shouldn't have. And they kind of gave away the search and destroy versus Epsilon. So as this match does go on, if Rogue starts to get a little bit of a lead, I don't want them to start to get overconfident, which I feel like is definitely a factor that can happen. Obviously, you want to have confidence, but you can't get too overconfident where you start to doubt the other team. So with that, I just want to see Rogue have a consistent search and destroy, keep playing things out the way that they need to, and don't start forcing the issue when you don't need to.
Yeah, nice kill there for Saints, and that lowers their man count just by 1. It's going to be a 3 versus 2. Octane and Saints working together here. Both pushing over towards the mid-map. Spots 1 more player. That is going to be Johnny. Shots are going to be tagged up, but Saints isn't going to be able to clean it up. Octane spots 1. That is going to be Johnny, so he cleans up that kill. But 1 player left in showers is going to be Nelson. And just like that, Pander is going to be left last alive. And now it's in a 1 versus 1 situation. The battle of the MV4, Pander and Octane.
And Octane is actually going to be on that bomb right now. Does Pander realize that a potential 1 versus 2 clutch checks the bomb, and that should be good to go. And yes, the 1v2 comes into play for Pander, as that's now going to be Rogue, who take a 3-round-to-1 advantage. And good overall play from Pander. We also talk about him playing with the side of LG, at least at 1 tournament for ESWC so far throughout the Infinite Warfare season. So with that good overall knowledge for Pander to realize the play that Octane was making, maybe even heard a call out from a teammate. But overall, good intuition there from the young gun Pander, as it's now going to put Rogue up 2 rounds.
Let's see how Luminosity is going to bounce back here. Classic is always going to be your bomb carrier for the side of Luminosity Gaming. It's going to be 1 player over towards that B site contesting. That is going to be GodRx. I think he got the call out, so now he's rotating back. You see the arrows in the middle map area, maybe trying to lean in for a pinch. The flechette grenade is going to go out, but 1 player right in the face of the action is going to be player number 1. That's going to be Classic. He peeks out for a split second. Trophy system is going to go down. He's going to slide onto that bomb site. Bomb should be good to go down, but he's utilizing that chest high cover. He's able to find Johnny. Now looking for 1 more, but Saints is going to be able to clean up GodRx with the flechette.
Nice play there from Classic to kind of elevate himself over toward that bomb site that now leaves Rogue in a 2 versus 4 retaking situation. Pander and Nelson with an all to do. This is not going to be easy for them, to say the least, and now it's left up to Pander in a 1 versus 4. Let's see if we can try and do at this point. Of course, 125 points off a scare. Wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe try and find a kill and maybe try to hide, but looks like he's not even be able to get that. So nice play overall from the side of LG. They get the bomb down. They retake, kind of hold on to that site. I think it was a good play from Classic whenever he had that angled once he was able to get over to the bomb site and shut down GodRx. So just overall a good play there from the side of LG. We ended up seeing that duplicate play back in round number 1 on the offensive, and this time they're able to improve on their mistakes.
Nice shots coming in there from Octane to close out that round. Now just down 1 round to the side of Rogue. And let's see what they do. Constant A hits is what we're really seeing, and Nelson doing the same thing with that RPR in hand, always hitting the wall and getting onto that A site. And similar setup on defense for what we're seeing, but Saints is now getting very aggressive inside shower. So a little bit of mind games going on here with Nelson, but Slack is going to be able to pick up the first blood there, working side by side with Saints. But now that bomb is going to be down as well. So now Rogue needs to rotate around to try to get that, but I wonder if Luminosity knows that that bomb is down there on circle.
Pander looking to try and engage. Slacked at least somewhat of a good line set at the moment. LG playing pretty consistent as they're going to be making their way as a unit. See them checking every angle needed. This is the search and destroy strategy they said that they've improved on. Working together as a team is what they needed to improve on their search and destroy gameplay. And you definitely see them doing it right now. If you take a look at your mini-map, you also see them all following suit right around one another, just kind of remaining in the same place. That's going to make it more difficult for the side of Rogue, but only 25 seconds left for Painter to get this bomb down. It looks like a kill going to come in from Johnny. That's going to level things up at a 3 versus 3. Bomb getting ready to go down. Johnny actually watching through showers. This is the big kill that he needs to get. He's able to make it happen, but he's quickly responded. So now 2 versus 2, make it a 1 versus 1. Pander versus Octane. MV4 versus MV4. Who will clutch this one out? This is a massive round. It looks like Pander might have spotted Octane. Couldn't clutch the 1 versus 1 yet again, but no, Octane will be there for the win. Back-to-back 1v1 engagements for these two, and this time Octane comes out on top.
Excellent shots there coming in from Octane. Has that active camo to go as well. So tied up 3-3 as we are heading into round number 7. See a nice little one-on-one gunfight coming here. Octane utilizing that movement. Both players flying high in the sky. But coming out on top of that is going to be Samuel.
Samuel LaRue, the one and only.
The World of Warcraft wizard.
Absolutely. I'm curious what Nelson's been doing with this Evo. I don't know if we can go over with him. I'm just curious to see what his strategy is when it comes down to defense. Not that it's a bad weapon by any means. Of course, we've definitely seen him do pretty well with it in that series versus Epsilon earlier today. But just want to see his aggression with this. How well does he play it? Looks like he ends up getting met pretty quick. Magada Rex is there with some shots from the NV4, at least making it now with a mankind advantage in Rogue's way. 3 versus 2. There toward that back cave is going to be Slack. Slack kind of toying with him at the moment right now.
Yeah, he's just peeking in and out right there. See, Godorex, he just starts to tap his right trigger to get the shots going single. See if he's going to be able to find anything here. He was 0-6 coming into this round, but he found 2 kills. Looking to try to find the 3rd here. Does have the MV4, so he's going to be at that disadvantage in med bay. Slack and Saints inside, so you know one of them is probably carrying the E-Red. And that is going to be slacked right there. He's going to come out on top. Johnny now needs to go big once more. He's done it already in this game, but he, for some reason, shoots the back tank. I'm not exactly sure why, but that gives up his position as well. That bomb is going to go down. He does have slacked weak, but does he know that Saints is behind the bomb?
Don't think he does, and unfortunately, Johnny kind of gives away his position. Poor trigger discipline coming in there from Johnny, but we'll see what he can try to do. He's done very well, obviously, in this map and in this series so far. Johnny looking to try and engage, but doesn't realize that one player is right behind that bomb, and great play there coming in from LG. The call-out coming in there from Slack to let his teammate know just to kind of hide out. Wait as long as you need to. See Saints pop up. Johnny having no idea that he's there and cleans up that kill. So in some cases, Johnny kind of gives away his position, and LG is there to respond with some great teamwork.
And it's always hard to play for that retake, too, coming from that back garage area. It's so hard to do in a 1 versus 2 unless there's a complete collapse from the opposing team as well. But now it's going to be Luminosity getting another round on the board, and they do officially take the lead here in this search and destroy. Looks like we're going to be seeing another A hit coming from the side of Rogue. So doing the same thing, I think, almost every offensive round that they've had. But now Nelson is going to draw the kill, and Panda is actually going to get the first blood there with a sniper, and Slack is going to be there to take out Nelson. But now it's up to him to clutch up in a 1 versus 3. Let's see how good his movement is here. Utilizing that lower wall run, spots one, and Johnny is going to get the snapper on him. 4-4 is going to be the score.
And this is exactly what Nelson has kind of made his career on in the last few years of Call of Duty, is that constant aggression. We talked about him with a number of different guns last year in Black Ops 3 with his constant aggression that he liked to make. And of course, it doesn't really favor the E-Red, but the RPR Evo is the weapon of choice for him, and he's definitely making use of it. When it comes down to Nelson's gameplay, he's constantly going to be in the face of the opposition and finds 2 quick kills to solidify that round there for Rogue. So with this level here coming into round number 9, this is a big swing round for either side. Wouldn't be surprising if we maybe see a payload to be used. And speaking of payloads, Johnny actually ends up using his pretty early. Octane still holding on to his active cam. It looks like Johnny might have put that Centurion down over toward that B site, it seems. So kills starting to go down. It's now going to be a 2 versus 4. LG left to respond.
Panda and Nelson are going to draw those kills, and Saints is going to be able to fire back with 1, make that 2 now, but Godorex is able to trade out Saints. Now Octane is going to be left alive in a 1 versus 2, spots one player over to the right. The timing going in Panda's favor right there, and now they are just 1 round away from taking this breakout search and destroy.
I'm curious to see the utility from either side, if we have any streaks that we might have missed or some payloads as well. I think Octane's still holding on to the active camo. We end up seeing Johnny use that Centurion. As we load into this next round, Octane has active camo. We'll see what Saints has as well. Looks like Saints has reactive armor, and Panda and Nelson have FTL jump and active camo. So both teams working with a little bit of utility for the moment. These should be the last payloads that we do see at all. So definitely want to make them worth it. As it will be Rogue on the offensive at the moment. Nelson with the bomb in hand. Players scattered around near that B site. Shots being exchanged early on as Johnny decides to go and back up and reevaluate the situation, maybe going back to the drawing board, letting his teammates know that communication. Nelson still with the active camo in hand, might actually defend to get this bomb down right now.
And you see the Luminosity players backing up through Spiral. They're all going to be going into Med Bay, flooding in. There's going to be one player to watch that cross. That is going to be Pander. Uses the FTL jump. He's able to get one beat down there on Octane, but immediately it's going to be traded out. So now a 3 versus 3 situation. No players from Luminosity in any sort of position to try to get anything going here in the middle map is where they're going to try to attack from. Johnny's going to be able to come out on top of that gunfight, and Johnny still stays alive, but Saints takes out God Rex, and now it's going to be Saints left alive in a 1 versus 2 to clutch up.
Nelson's active camo. There's no reason not to try and use it in this particular spot. Active camo on the bomb site. Saints isn't there, and Rogue, just like that, they're going to take map number 2, 6 rounds to 4. As you're going to see Nelson in the final kill cam using the active camo to absolute perfection. Active camo versus reactive armor. Nelson, as well as I, take active camo every day.
The reactive armor there from Saints did look a bit premature. I think he might have spotted somebody crossing through that middle map area, and that's when he sort of sat there and was like, oh, okay, maybe I should pop it. And then when he did, he ran inside, and by that time it was too late. The reactive armor was basically empty.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. Of course, you only had about maybe 20 seconds roughly to kind of do much. So, I mean, with that, kind of unfortunate for the guys on LG, but they definitely put up quite a fight when it comes to search and destroy. And I think, to be honest with you, throughout most of this series, this was the map that I expected to see, if any, that Rogue would take.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these teams that we talk about that come through the open bracket, we always say, if any game mode that they will be able to take, it's going to be search and destroy. Going with these guys toe-to-toe and respawn is going to be a very hard task to do, but in search and destroy is the one mode that a lot of the teams can't really take. But guys, you just saw map number 2, and you saw Rogue take that one. Sorry, you saw them take that search and destroy map. But when we do come back, we'll have map number 3 ready for you. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back here to continue this series between Rogue and Luminosity Gaming. We're going to be heading into map number 3, which is going to be a precinct uplink. I'm Dirk, joined alongside Landon. Landon, series has been pretty good so far. Tied up 1-1 right now is what the score is going to be. We saw Luminosity doing what they do best in a respawn game type, but there in that search and destroy wasn't necessarily struggling, but it came down right to the wire.
It did, yeah. We ended up seeing some pretty consistent plays overall from the guys on Rogue. Some pretty consistent plays from from guys like Nelson as well as Johnny. But I think when it comes into this next precinct on uplink, there's one player that I definitely want to look at, and that's going to be Octane. Actually, from the side of Luminosity Gaming, of course, you can see his current stats so far here at CWL Anaheim. His overall KD currently sitting at a 1.22, hardpoint at a 1.03. But of course, uplink coming up next is what we need to focus on the most, a 1.24. That is a very, very impressive KD so far throughout the tournament, Dirk.
Sam LaRue, you guys see it. Octane, as we all know and love him, he's definitely the guy. He's a big factor when it comes down to Luminosity's success. But from what we've been seeing so far, Saints and Classic have been holding their own a lot more than they usually do. Typically, it's usually Classic, the one putting up the bigger slaying numbers compared to Saints. Like I said, lots of speculation coming into this as Saints might even be on this roster with the whole gunless talk. That was one of the biggest rumors that were going around as well. But they've both been holding their own as well as Slacks. The Luminosity have been playing good, but the Search and Destroy Nightmares might be slowly starting to creep back up to them against that one. But as we said, Breakout sort of fluky, and I shouldn't say fluky in terms, but it can kind of be a little bit random because they don't know exactly what the strategies for the teams are going to be. From Rogue there, they looked pretty good. Every single offensive round, though, they did the exact same thing, but Luminosity never caught on to it. It was always send Nelson to A, send 3 over towards the B site as well. And that was typically it. I think there was one time where Luminosity was able to shut it down.
Yeah, now, of course, we need to talk about Search and Destroy. That's kind of Rogue's playground. However, this next game mode is not. If we know anything about the history with Johnny, or anything about the history with Nelson when it came down to Call of World League last year, back in uplink for Black Ops 3 under a team name known as 100 Thieves,
100 L's.
They struggled a little bit when it came down to the game mode of uplink. So I'm a little bit worried when it comes down to seeing them play. They struggled massively in their series that I was able to witness versus the side of Epsilon. So to me, this is not looking good for them. I'm definitely going to be giving my my attention and my overall prediction over to the side of Luminosity, especially with the fact that we are seeing a precinct uplink. This is a map where you're going to see a lot of K-bars, a lot of MV4s. You're going to see any weapon, but this is a map where the MV4 can definitely reign true. And if we know anything, this is Octane's probably one of his best maps when it comes in uplink, and he's already having a fantastic performance. I feel like there's no reason for me not to choose Luminosity when it comes down to this map.
When you look at it, you see the core 3 from here from Luminosity, Classic, Slacked, and Octane. They're on Rise Nation back in Black Ops 3, where they were one of the best uplink teams in the league as well. So you have the best going up against 2 of the worst last year in the game mode of uplink. I don't think 100 Thieves. I think they won 1 by forfeit. I think that was the only one. The stat I was keeping up with all those stats. I think they won 1. It was by a forfeit. Yeah. So I sat there and I was like, oh, they were able to gain some momentum, but and then after losing the next 5 in the league.
It's a new game, though. It's a new game. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
You could say it's a new game, but uplink stays true.
It's the same game.
That's one of the things. It's going to come down to that teamwork as well, but it's just going to come down to can you slow down Slacked and Classic and Saints, really? That's what it seems right here.
It's hard to say because it's like, it's not just we have to shut down one player. It's that we have to shut down at least 3 if we want to try to take a map off. It comes down to a respawn.
Yeah, it'd be completely different if we saw like the usual, just Octane completely going off and then each and every player putting their individual work, but so far it's just been all of them have been doing their equal job. So how are they going to be able to slow that down? We know how aggressive of a player Saints is. We know how aggressive Slack is as well. But from the side of Rogue, you're going to need Nelson to try to go toe-to-toe with them, and that's going to be one of the big things. So hopping into this game number 3, it's going to be on Precinct Uplink, and we're starting off with GodRx.
Fortunate team name there, but one guy that I'm definitely looking at for the side of Rogue is going to be Johnny, but it's also going to be GodRx. GodRx had a pretty low performance when it came down to the last 2 game modes. He's definitely kind of held the zone, but not really playing the best. And apparently, from what I've heard, he's had a fantastic tournament up to this point. Definitely a major factor as to why Rogue has had success in the open bracket, making it even into pools. And for those who know, it is GodRx's birthday, so I'm looking for the birthday boy to definitely put up a big performance, and a performance that's definitely going to need to be a strong one if they want to try to take a uplink versus the side of LG.
And Classic finds himself into a gunfight, but he's going to be able to get the beat down there on Pander. Now look at the Rogue team. They're getting set up there. Nelson's going to decide to retreat. Still has that RPR in hand as well. Just playing in this back orange chart. One player immediately just pre-aiming there. That is going to be Classic. He's finding himself on a little bit of a streak to start off this, but Pander finds 2, and that halts the push from Luminosity. Saints now goes out with the drone, but it is going to be reset back there. So now it's going to be Johnny and crew trying to attack from construction.
You're actually going to see Johnny pulling out a little bit of an E-rat in some cases, switching that MV4 play over toward Pander. So I like the strategy. Pander, a very talented player when it comes down to slaying, and we'll see if he's actually good at the objective as well. But unfortunately, that toss not going to be at the right angle. That is a very difficult toss to make. So I think we've ended up seeing pretty consistent play when it comes into precinct, but that's a very difficult toss to make, and I can't blame him for missing that one.
But now you see they got the players down, but now it's just time for the lead blockers to do what they do best. Saints is going to be leading the charge, looking for the players that are coming off the gas station. The one-point toss is going to come in, but that is going to be intercepted by GodRx, and the reset is going to go off the map. Now look for the side of Rogue to start slaying out to try to open up this drone base, but Slack is going to be there to shut down anybody pushing towards Ticket.
Great defensive play there coming in from the side of Rogue. You're actually going to see Nelson trying to make some offensive plays happen in the base of the side of LG, trying to be as much of a nuisance as possible, but that drone has made it out at least for now. Classic making his way here over toward that AC, toward gas station side, tags up one player, but Pander is there to finish him off, and Pander going to light up a few more, taking out half the side of LG single-handedly, as GodRx completely melts one player as well. Pander picking up 3 out of the 4. Classic is here to try and make the defensive play, but Rogue is holding strong, trying to wait as long as possible. They want the 2-point play in. It looks like Pander might actually get that. One player standing in their way. Johnny trying to hold this one forward, but no, Slack and Saints are both going to be there. However, Johnny is going to win that team fight and get the 2-point play in, the first play of the game, the first points of this round, and it's going to be a dunk in favor of Rogue.
That was great from Rogue. It was just picture perfect how patient they played, just picking up the kills one by one before they actually make the push onto the goal there, and they were able to get a dunk from it. But now it's time for Luminosity to answer back. The drone is going to be in the hands of Octane. He's utilizing that wall run. He has Slack and Saints in front. This should be a dunk right here, and Slack gets it up and in. Now just like that, tie game as we approach the 2-minute warning.
Solid plays from the guys on Luminosity Gaming. We talked about the CWL playoffs, actually, for stage 1 that just happened not too long ago. One interesting stat, actually, from the side of LG was that they were over 50%. They had an over 50% win rate in every single game mode. So that's the issue when it comes into this LG squad. They're good at hardpoint. They're good at search and destroy, and they're also very talented when it comes into uplink, and have been for the last few years. Of course, this main core 3 sticking together since Black Ops 3 have proven that. So that's going to be a continuing issue for the side of Rogue. If they can even take this uplink map or even take a search and destroy here or there, the issue is that Luminosity doesn't slow down.
And that's one of the biggest things, one of the most aggressive teams that we do have in the Global Pro League. See if they're going to be able to get it here. The drone site is going to be completely wide open. Classic just waiting for the call to pick it up and just begin to move it. Slack is going to be able to take out one coming through hallway. Can he find the second? Here he is being pushed. The jammer grenade does come in, but he's utilizing that high wall run there. One more play going to be outside. It's going to be Nelson coming out on top in that engagement. Now Classic and Octane trying to work together. Octane does drop. The drone goes down as well. Classic trying to do everything he can to stay alive, but it is going to be another great defensive stop coming in from the side of Rogue. And look at Panda right now, 15-6 is his current kill to death ratio, trying to get things heated up here, but does have that scare to work with.
Pander's absolutely lighting it up. In some cases, LG curious as to why we shouldn't have kept this guy. Pander finds 3, GodRx finds the 4th, and now Rogue have an opportunity to move the drone forward. We talk about Pander's play, how much of an up-and-comer he is, and he is showing us why. He's continuing to go off 19-7. The drone score ends up getting stopped from the side of LG, but Rogue definitely making an impact when it comes down to it, finding 3 to 4 players, it seems, every life.
I think on defense, I think Luminosity is one of the best teams at intercepting that drone. I feel like these guys have Octane and Slack are the people I'm going to highlight. Whenever that drone is thrown, they are the ones who are always going to be there to try to get that interception. It's a very, very underrated skill, as you see the 1-point toss go in there, but it helps out so much on defense. But now it's going to be Luminosity with the 1-point lead as we head here into the second half. Pretty equal game, though. We have to say Rogue is definitely holding their own, but the big reason is because of Pander and the positions he's getting himself in. He was hugging that top ticket window, and he was just picking Luminosity players off one by one as soon as they came around statue.
Pander is really starting to impress him. He's currently sitting at triple positive versus one of the best uplink teams we have in the entire game. Definitely proving himself to be an up-and-coming rising star, potentially. You could see and have him in future matches to come, as looks like early scores starting to happen. Pander ends up fighting Slacked and finding yet again a few more kills. 23-7 hit for him right now. Tries to making another 24-7 right now for Pander. Absolutely exploding. This is also find the nade. Nothing can go wrong for this man. Starting off on a 4 spree. Players can't even hold on. And it looks like Nelson's going to be able to get this drone score forward, but it looks like he's just able to do that as Pander is continuing to go on a spree. 27-7. Six spree, single-handedly being the main front for the side of Rogue to get this drone forward. Another score is able to happen, and that has all been made toward the sides of Pander. This man is going off and granting Rogue another opportunity to get back in this game versus LG.
Outslaying is everybody right now is Pander. He calls in that bombardment. Actually, he's just going to use it to ping to get the player positioning, but he is fully streaked out, has the FTL jump ready to go, sitting at 28-8. Trying to continue his menacing spree going through here. He's going to be taking out Octane. And we said one of the biggest keys is who is going to match up with Octane, who is going to be able to slow him down, and Pander is doing just that. Octane sitting at 13-17 here in this uplink. That drone is going to be reset, and Rogue does have the 1-point lead, but Pander is going to be rushing onto the site. He's going to be able to find one. No, he's not. Classic comes out on top there. He's finding himself on a streak of his own as well. Luminosity pushing over towards Statue side. The pinch is coming in at elbow. The 1-point toss comes in, and that is going to connect. Tie game.
Nice play there from the side of LG to get that team score forward. Shots coming in from Octane as he'll find at least 2 through that middle map with the NV4. NV4 battle, though, has definitely been given over to Panders. He finds yet again more and more kills, double kill. They're coming in with the K-Bar currently sitting at 31-10. Another 2 spree for him as LG looks to try and toss that drone out. Trying to maybe even ice Pander a little bit just because he's been the main bane as the reason why these guys have absolutely been going off as he's continuing to be in the kill feed right now. I mean, he's finding kills left, right, and center. We have to go on board with him. Unfortunately, he just does drop. That's going to set his team up yet again for another scoring opportunity. And yes, Nelson is nearly going to be there. Octane will meet him with a fist to the face, but it doesn't matter. The drone score goes in regardless, and now Rogue have a 1-point advantage.
That's 2 times now where Rogue has gone up for the dunk. The player's been killed in the air, and the drone drops in. So 2 1-point plays. So thankfully for Luminosity, they've been able to kill him as soon as they're about to go in there. The timing fully going in their favor. Now you're going to start to see the gold rings light up in this stage of the game. Octane has that overdrive ready to go, and on the side of Rogue, all you have is Pander with that FTL jump, but they do have drone control. Pander is going to be pushing forward. He could make the big break here. See the follow cam come in. He's going to use the FTL jump to go get that drone. Guys to go up with it. Classic is now going to be left last alive. He needs to get this out and reset it, and he does just that. Perfect timing coming in from Classic to get the reset, but now 2 minutes have passed. Luminosity needs to string something together here and look for Octane to get that drone into his hands and utilize that overdrive.
Solid defensive stop for LG, but can they do it again? The 1-point toss goes forward, and yes, just underneath the legs of Octane, it is the 1-point toss come. Nice shot there coming in from Nelson. But if we have to highlight anyone, I know we've talked about it constantly, but Pander, the reason why Rogue is still in this game is because of this man. But just as I say, that 3 go down, one of them not actually being Pander, so he's the last alive. He has to be the defensive front, but Octane is quick to shut him down. Here comes the overdrive. Octane trying to go through the skies as he'll even the game out at 6-6. Minute and 20 remaining, as we'll see who's going to take the advantage in this series.
We definitely will. The drone gets tossed out as we're about to approach the 1-minute mark here in the second half of this uplink between Rogue and Luminosity Gaming. Let's see if Slack is going to be able to pick up this kill and elbow. He's able to get some shots down, takes out Godorex, hops out of bounds just to save his life for a split second. But now they need to worry about Pander because he is on the front lines here for the side of Rogue. He's going to be able to spot one player flying in the sky. Gets the call there on elbow as well, but on top of the gunfight is going to be Slack. Now Octane has control of that. 50 seconds to go here in the second half.
LG with the potential to fire in the last few points. You might even see a buzzer beater potentially, but Octane has the drone in hand, tosses that one off to his teammate. That's going to be Classic. He tosses the drone down as well. All the Rogue players currently sitting on the portal. They're waiting for the 1-point toss to happen. Octane shuts down Pander, and here comes the 1-point play, but no, here comes the 2-point play. In fact, and there's Classic to fire it through. 8-6, a 1-possession advantage with just 20 seconds remaining. Nelson rocks the overdrive quick. 1 player in front of him, but Saints is there. 1 player to respond is Godorex, but he quickly falls as well. Only a few more seconds needed. Slack just needs to hold the drone in his own base and delay as long as possible. As this game looks to be more and more less likely, Rogue is not going to have a chance to respond, it seems. Nelson with no time, and just like that, that's going to be it. Rogue do fall 6-8. LG now have the advantage in this series as they now lead 2-1.
A lot of people sitting at home, I know myself included, did not think that that uplink would come down to that close, but the biggest highlight we said, who's going to match up with Octane? Pander answered that call right there, and he absolutely went off. He was in the perfect positions to really get those pushes started for the side of Rogue as well. So all credit to Pander right there, keeping everything in the game for Rogue. But Luminosity came out on top there. You saw the little teamwork, staying cool and composed there in the final minute of that game. They were able to get the nice 2-point play in as well. It almost looked like he wasn't going to be able to get the jump up there because he ran out of his thruster. But you guys are going to see the maps on screen right now of how we got to this point. And now Landon, take him through it.
Yeah, so the first throwback, or first hard point, excuse me, that was on throwback. LG took that one in a pretty dominant fashion. They won that one 250 to 129. Breakout search and destroy went in Rogue's way, nearly went to a round 11, but due to some nice payload plays that we ended up seeing from the side of Rogue, they ended up winning that one in 6 rounds to 4. And of course, in our very last uplink, which we just witnessed, that went in LG's way, nearly 8 to 6, despite an all-star performance there from the young man of Pander. Saw some great plays coming in from the side of LG, some great defensive stops that we ended up seeing actually from Classic. There was one moment in the game that I think is definitely one to highlight. It was actually when the side of Rogue was actually getting ready to score an offensive play. Classic immediately escapes in, sacrifices his life, but it gets the 1-point toss, or excuse me, it gets that drone off the map to delay that 1-point toss off or even the 2-point play. And that, to me, definitely could have been a play that could have tied the game or even made it even more in Rogue's favor. So massive credit to Classic in that particular play, and massive credit to LG for closing it out despite an all-star performance from Pander. If there's anything to replicate when it comes down to this next hard point, I'm definitely looking at Pander to go off yet again when it comes down to the respawns. But that just goes to show one player can't make a team successful. It's the entire roster. I think that's what we're going to see from LG.
Yeah, and something to keep in mind, too, when we saw that throwback hardpoint, at the start of the game, it was very close. But then once you had the players from Luminosity start to heat up and get those streaks and start to work really quickly towards those payloads, that's where things started falling apart. But even then, the setups were never there for Rogue. They could get control, get those early rotations, but once they get set up, Luminosity braked it so quickly.
Right.
So that's going to be my biggest thing about this. Breakout plays a lot different from how Throwback does as well. This is another one of those maps where the MV4s can start to reign supreme. You see Octane start to go off on this map a lot, so he's going to be like a key player to watch, and I think we have to highlight Pander as well. After that series, he's definitely, we have to keep an eye on him. He basically had that performance, and that's how we have to keep an eye on him to go head-to-head with Octane once more. But can he do it? That's going to be the question. It's going to be so hard to replicate a performance like that.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to see a performance like that throughout the rest of Infinite Warfare. I mean, it was constantly looking at the kill feed and saying 2-3 kills going his way every single time. The man was constantly going on streaks, and unfortunately slowed down a little bit toward the end, but what more could you ask from him at this point? And if you guys are just joining us, of course, Luminosity Gaming currently up 2-1 in this pool play matchup. If LG wins this, they're in a prime spot to most likely take one of the first 2 out of the group. And obviously, we ended up talking about the side of Rogue coming from the open bracket, have had a pretty decent performance up to this point. Fell to Epsilon, but I believe they ended up taking out Envious in a 3-0 fashion. So having a pretty decent tournament up to this point. But when it comes down to this next hard point, it's not going to be easy. We obviously talk about the side of LG, how consistently they've been as a roster overall, not just as far as game modes are considered, but as far as the team in unison. And that's the thing that kind of separates the teams who are kind of trying to get up in the scene compared to the top teams, is that your Opti Gamings, your FaZe Clans, your even Splices as well from Europe, and also your LGs, is that every player has the ability to go off. And that's the issue that I think a lot of these younger teams have, is that you're seeing guys from Rogue go off at times. Johnny having good moments. Of course, Pander having an all-star performance. But it's about consistency, and I think that's what we're going to see from LG yet again.
And we have to bring up the performances of that game of Classic and Slacked. Were not good by any means. I believe both of them ended up going in the game negative, which is not what you want to see. And it was basically Octane and as well as Saints, the ones carrying in that slaying department. So those are 2 players to watch from Luminosity as well, to make sure to try to get up to that same level that they were in that hard point. But right now, Luminosity could close it out here against Rogue. We are jumping into breakout hardpoint. We're going to start off this one with the man, Octane. Let's see what he does here. He is always going to have that MV4 in hand. See what he does. Pushing through scanners. Going to get the calls on the players that are pushing towards the hill here. No first blood has been drawn yet. Nobody jumped inside of the hill either, but now kills have been traded.
And when it comes down to this first hard point, definitely a lot of control going to come down to Showers. Being able to lock down that particular angle grants you a great look at that central rooftop. Of course, his first hill going to be pretty sporadic when it comes down to it. A lot of gunfights going down, and at least up to this point, LG having a pretty easy time. Classic granting every second, of course, up to this point. Nelson quick to respond there, of course, continuing to have that RPR Evo out. I got to say, I'm pretty impressed. He's been kind of having that with him throughout the entire map, and when he's seen success with it, he's obviously going to kind of keep it out Wouldn't mind him maybe pulling on a K-bar here or there, but I mean, if the RPR Evo works for you, man, I'd keep it out and keep rocking with it.
Nelson has always been one of those players where he says he's a submachine gun player. He's a strict submachine gun player. We saw it back in Black Ops 3 as well, where he pull out the VMP and keep the VMP only. He's not a man who likes to switch to the AR by any means, and I know that was one of the things when ARs reigned supreme in Call of Duty Infinite Warfare to start off the game. He was very mad at it. He wanted the submachine guns in his hand, so now he does have it, and now actually, as we say that, he's going to pull out a K-bar to make us look stupid. But like you said, maybe it's nice to get that little switch there because the RPR is only going to be good in situational times in the hills here. He's going to jump inside. He's going to be able to find one. He finds a second there on Slack as well. So getting things cooking up here on a 2-kill streak. But now he's going to spot Octane from range. He's going to go ahead and dodge, duck, dip, dive inside. He's going to be staying alive here as Octane is continuing to apply the fire from circle.
Much needed time coming in from Rogue right now. Nelson going on a bit of a spree for the time, currently leading in kills for the entire lobby, not just his team. GodRx doing a great job as well as they're going to lock down the remaining time inside of cell block. So what seemed to be a very slow start for them for the start of this game. We talk about cell block in some cases kind of being the money hill for this map, and Rogue proving exactly why that is.
Yeah, so the rotations are going to be coming in. The team fight is going to be going down. It's Slack and Saints leading the charge. Slack is going to be able to draw 1 kill as Saints does as well, but Saints is going to get cleaned up. And then you have the sniper behind you, Octane with the NV4 looking right over top. He's going to be able to clean up one, so now control is going to the side of Luminosity. I wonder if you saw Pander jumping up there trying to spot check. Don't believe he did, but now that's going to be 2 down for Luminosity, and the flood is now going to start to come in from the side of Rogue.
Saints doing a great job from the back line. You'd like to think the MV4 would be in the back and the K-bar in the front, but Saints is doing a great job at range. Unfortunately, shuts down his teammate and now has to be the main front for his roster. Thankfully, doing a lot of that slaying from the back is now going to lead him getting that scarab, trying to zone out some of these Rogue players from entering inside of the hard point. Nelson able to pick off Octane, and of course being aware of those spawns. Might even try to engage to pinch out this Graveyard Hill, but has to be aware. His life is very important in this case, and Saints is aware of such. He needs to stay alive as Nelson, and he'll be able to do that. So while the time is going to go over toward the side of Luminosity, the next hill and those spawns, which are going to be very, very important over toward that back helipad, is going to be in control of Rogue.
That was a great heads-up play from Nelson. He took out Octane, who was basically playing as the anchor for Luminosity. As soon as he took him out, Luminosity players started spawning all the way on the other side of the map, but now we have some gunfights going down here at back helipad. Luminosity trying to break the setup that Rogue fought so hard for, and now they are going to lose it. Panda is going to be the last player inside of the hill, flooded by Luminosity players. GodRx going to try to utilize this low wall run. Don't believe he was spotted, so he has a chance to go big here. He finds one. That's on Slack. Still one more inside the hill. Gets a nice turn there on Classic, and now the Luminosity players are going to be flooding in here from ramp. Saints is going to be able to find one, but can he find the second? But more Rogue players keep on flooding inside.
Did it do some weak players as well, trying to enter in. GodRx making some highlight plays. There's actually one play that we're going to highlight as the beginning of Commissary ended up starting off. Granted, Rogue has done a great job at getting some time, but one play that we ended up seeing coming in from Classic was off of that rotation coming in from Cave. Classic ends up finding one who ends up holding the angle, which was Nelson, and also the player toward that back helipad. Those are 2 massively important kills that are probably worth more than just 2. And that's something that we have to highlight about Classic a lot of the time, is that he gets a lot of important kills that don't always show up on the kill feed. So while he ended up going on a 2 spree, that was a huge 2 spree that granted his team quite a bit of seconds and also delayed Rogue from getting quite a few as well. So that's just a few moments to kind of bring up through the match of things that Classic does around the map that doesn't always get highlighted.
Only 13 engagements total for Octane as well. That's something that's very, very odd coming from him. So we'll see if he's going to be able to step it up. Currently sitting at 5 and 8, but they still do have a pretty hefty lead. 115 to 58 is the score. Around 30 seconds left here on the central rooftop, but one player is going to be sliding in. That is going to be Nelson, and he is going to be taken out there. But Johnny's going to find himself a kill as well as Pander, and now they're going to be sitting up top, trying to get things going. They're slowly starting to claw back into this game, but now it's time to start focusing up on that cell block hill. Look for GodRx to maybe come down, try to pick up a kill here and there, but they need to get these rotations in. But Luminosity getting the first 2 big breaks, but Johnny counters right back. He's currently on a 6-kill streak, shutting down anything that Luminosity is throwing at him.
Johnny's feeling good. He's doing a fantastic job at locking down Central Rooftop and granting his team some early time over inside a cell block. Ends up falling near that med base side. But either way, Rogue did a fantastic job at locking down cell block last time. Question is, can they do it again? Nice kills coming in from both Johnny and Nelson. Octane trying to engage in some cases all by himself, and that push gets shut down pretty quickly. Last player going to be here is Saints, as he is going to try and delay for as long as possible, but Johnny yet again shutting him down and not allowing him to do much more. Johnny goes on a 3 spree yet again, quickly shut down right after that, but Rogue not out of this one just yet. They're remaining and holding on to this particular hard point throughout most of the match, and it's definitely been granting them great success as Rex continues to go on a little bit of a spree potentially as he finds that one as well. Nice plays coming in from Rogue, but a valuable 15 seconds left in this hard point, and Rex finds that one as well. The birthday boy doing a fantastic job, and this is going to bring Rogue back into this game as rotation will come in here toward Graveyard.
Yeah, it's going to be a split spawn here. You see Slack attacking from that back garage side. He's going to be able to find Johnny. One more player coming for support. That is going to be Classic, and just like that, they break the early rotation from Rogue and are now going to take control of this Graveyard. But Rogue got so much valuable time off of that cell block. That was absolutely huge for them to try to claw back into this game. But now they have a hefty task of taking out this Luminosity setup. The smoke grenade is going to come into play from the side of Rogue. Nelson is going to get the entry kill.
And player number 7 and player number 8, I believe that's actually Panda as well as Nelson making their way on the flank. This is a big play, but Panda is not there, and 4 end up dropping. That was a great pinch that could have came in from Rogue, but LG sniffs it out, and they're able to make quick work of what could have been a fantastic Rogue break. So LG using that teamwork to absolute perfection at the moment. And we'll see what the side of LG does. Player number 5, Johnny. Let's go to Johnny really quick, see what he's doing at the moment. Okay, he's just kind of holding this angle. Okay, I was just curious. He was kind of sticking back here, but this is a very important angle for him to lock down right now toward that back helipad, and he gets quick work made of him. Classic finding yet again another huge kill. Rogue, they're only going to get 3 seconds inside a Graveyard, and now a very important hill for Commissary. They're not even going to have great spawns for that off the start. They're going to be having to start off the back foot and having to make their way forward. This is not going to be easy because LG is getting so much free time, and thankfully, Scarabs are starting to come in their way as well. This is not easy for the set of Rogue to try and push this one out.
No, it definitely isn't. Johnny now going to try to make a solo push into the here. Actually, he's joining 3 of his teammates from Rogue. Let's see how this one's going to go. Kills are going to be traded. The camo is going to be popped inside. That was a great camo play coming there from Classic. He's going to be able to use that, stay alive inside of the hill, and he's going to be able to pick up a kill there as well. And ultimately, that saved Luminosity from that push from Rogue. And now you have the players 2 attacking from the middle and 1 going to be attacking from the back. That's going to be Johnny. The entry kills are going to be coming in. Classic trying to hit the wall run. He is going to be able to do so, but he is going to be taken out. So the last 12 seconds going to be going to the side of Rogue.
Rogue, this is not going to be easy for you, to say the least. Currently down by quite a few seconds, 202 to 125, as the second set of rotations will reset back toward that central rooftop area. Slack using some nice wall runs off the start, but looks like Octane coming from the flank, an early pinch coming in from the side of LG, and not a whole lot of positives. If you are a Rogue fan at the moment, potentially only 47 seconds left before this entire series is done and over with. As far as the group play is considered, this would be a massive match for Rogue if they can capture this series and potentially get closer to solidifying a top 2 spot after coming from the open bracket. But if LG locks this one down, they should be and have a solidified spot as the nice shot comes in from Panda as he finds 2. But like I said, if LG is able to close this one out, they're nearly guaranteed a spot to move on into the winner's bracket.
Nobody has had an answer for Classic. We talked about they need one for Octane, but I feel like Octane's not even playing bad. It's just Classic and the rest of his team are taking all the kills. Classic inside with the MV4, this is what he does best. Sitting right here, getting a lot of valuable time as Luminosity is nearing closer and closer to the 250-point mark. The Scarab is going to be called in there as well, but Panda is going to be able to shoot that one out of the air. He has the FTL jump ready to go, and the early rotations are in. Also, Nelson sets that Centurion right inside of the hill. So let's see if they're going to be able to get this time. They did an excellent job of holding this last time. Let's see if they can replicate.
Doing a great job on sub block so far. Like you said, of course, that Centurion going to act as a permanent jammer grenade in some instances. Nice ranging coming in from Nelson as he's going to find at least 2 to lock down some early time. Rogue cannot afford to give away any more seconds, at least inside of cell block for now. As LG look to try and initiate this setup. Panda doing a great job at shutting down Octane. Then MV4 versus MV4 battle happens, and Classic finds another big kill entering into the setup for Rogue. Now they don't have to worry for too much longer as Johnny's going to be there. Got a Rex as well. So nice plays coming in from Rogue as it looks like it is going to be the side of LG who then to go ahead and reset and focus their attention over here toward Graveyard. Nelson's here. The Scarabs are out. As Painter locks down the last few seconds of scrap points. Rogue ends up falling. The first front ends up dropping just like that. Classic fighting in, and you got to get another kill. Gotarex falls in 3, go down. No players are there. And this is going to be LG getting very, very close. And such a scary territory right now if you are a Rogue fan because they are 10 seconds away from locking down this series, Dirk.
Yeah, it looks like it's definitely going to come down to it. Saints uses that reactive armor. is going to be able to get a kill to show for it as well. But now the 3 players from Rogue do push inside. Nelson's going to be the lone player from Rogue alive. He gets behind Slack. He's going to be able to take him out. Now Panda tries in to come contest. 3 seconds left, and it is going to be Luminosity taking the series over Rogue.
It was a great series to say the least, but when it came down to the overall use of consistency and overall team play, you've got to give it to LG every time. Classic yet again being highlighted when it comes down to the final kill cam, as he was an all-star throughout that entire series, doing quite a bit for his roster in a number of different ways. Honestly, I don't care how many kills he had. Some of the kills that he was getting as far as the back heli pads for commissary and doing a number of different jobs of kind of breaking the setup of the side of Rogue. I mean, he had a number of different plays that really kind of broke open the game for me in some cases. He was absolutely the MVP throughout that match for me.
And I've been a very big critic of Classic when it comes down to the camo, but we saw the camo play come into there, so respect to him. I know that he's capable of those good ones as well. But that was an excellent play to stay alive inside of the hill and not give it up to Rogue. But what you guys are going to see on your screen right now is how Luminosity got to this point to take the 3-1 win over Rogue. It all started with Throwback Hardpoint, where they won that one 250 to 129. Then we headed to Breakout Search and Destroy, where they won that one in a close, tightly contested match. That was going to be 6-4, and Rogue took that one. And then over to Precinct Uplink, Luminosity was able to come out with the win there, 8-6. Came down right to the final seconds. Excellent teamwork as Luminosity stayed composed in that final minute of the game. And then you just saw the last map being played. Breakout Hardpoint, 250 to 187 in favor of Luminosity.
And in that last game, Classic ends up going 32-21, along with 59 seconds, nearly an entire minute of hill time when it came down to that objective. So massive credit to him, as well as the guys on LG who will escape with this victory. And not going to let any more open bracket teams make some more damage to them.
One of the biggest things to take away from that, too, is they struggled with cell block a little bit when it came down to Luminosity. But once they got over to Graveyard, they held that every single time. Like, I wish we had the statistics to see, but they hold it so great just because of Octane being on that bulldozer. He's able to get anybody up in the air. But, guys, when we come back, we will have another great match for you. It's going to be FaZe taking on Era. Don't go anywhere.